Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 956 for the 6th of October. There will be information from the latest information in terms of frontline changes in the report. But someone told me that don't say the frontline changes first. No, the newest frontline changes first in the SITREP, because he says it spoils the surprise. So no, I read the comments. So I will not cover the latest frontline changes. It will be inside the report. So to keep the surprise, you see. Then so welcome to the Floating Head podcast. So anyway, also people say this is a floating head. No, it's a floating head. So okay, we're gonna go from the Kursk front. So we go clockwise direction. At the Kursk front, we have, of course, still have the two offensive clashing with each other. The Ukrainians are generally trying to attack in the Glushkovo sector, whereas the Russians are counter-attacking over in the western flank. And there is also new updates coming from the north, and also the clash over from the south. So let's go to the Glushkovo sector first. So at the Glushkovo sector, the Ukrainians have some success in the Obod region. Basically, the Ukrainians have managed to finally link up the Medvedze region with the Novi Put region, with the Ukrainian forces mapped by the Russian mappings to have some success taking some grounds around here. This comes after the Ukrainians previously captured the west of Obukovka, east of Obukovka the day before. So this is good success. The Ukrainians are finally creating some decent foothold in this region here, but strategically nothing have changed, generally speaking, because I always assume this area is always a massive gray zone that the Ukrainians should be already there. But yeah, the generally strategically have not changed much. The Russians are still talking about Ukrainians attacking towards Novi Put. They say that the Ukrainian attempt to break through the border of the Russian Federation in the direction of Novi Put was foiled. So is that a bit weird? In the Tommy's podcast, do check out the Tommy's podcast on Rumble. Russians are reportedly attacking Novi Put, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, or at least shelling is reported around here. There's also fighting reported in the region of Veseloe. And Medvedze. So anyway, we shall see how this develop. There's some of the rare Ukrainian success currently in the war, as the Ukrainians are consistently getting hit back and pushed back in basically almost all the front lines. So this is one of the rare instances of success. So we move away from the Glushkovo sector over in the western flank, which the Russians are doing the major offensive. The Russian forces are having some success. So the Russians finally took some grounds around Lyubimovka, as the Russian forces took some of the forest and then also another patch of forest and attacked into Lyubimovka. And the latest geolocation from today, after the frontline changes report, this is the latest information that the Russians are now confirmed to be inside of Lyubimovka. And there is Ukrainians counterattack in the Lyubimovka region. And then they are also counter-attacking over at Obukovka. The Russians are still pushing Darino and Nikolaevo Darino. This remains to be the same situation. So there is a geolocation of a Ukrainian abandoned vehicle getting destroyed. So largely the battles is finally moving in this western flank. And particularly, let's zoom in the situation at Lyubimovka. So the Russian forces have been geolocated right in the middle of Lyubimovka. And based on the mapping from the Ukrainian mapping, the Russian forces seems to have taken the western road, this western road of Lyubimovka, and they are also have already largely secured the eastern part of Lyubimovka as well. So the latest geolocation show them in the center of Lyubimovka. So the Ukrainian position is now getting wrecked at this moment. It's getting worse and worse. So we shall see whether the Ukrainians are able to hold Lyubimovka. The Ukrainians are definitely counter-attacking and trying to push the Russians back, as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. So this is getting very Zoka, this Rika Zoka. So very Zoka already. So don't ask me what it means. Actually, there's no meaning. No, I'm just saying words. Over in the northern flank, there is only one action. There's actually two actions per se. The Ukrainians are attacking at Kamishevka, so not sure where the direction of the attack. The Russians are attacking in the east of Krymianoe. So the Russians have been geolocated south of Kalinov, and this actually confirms that Kalinov is not under Ukrainian control. The Russians are just attacking down this direction. And as I did mention before, the entire claim from Kalinov leading all the way to Debelovka, this entire chunk here is suspicious, like super suspicious. All the way north of Krymianoe is super suspicious. It doesn't make sense that the Ukrainians have captured all these grounds, but this is what it was mapped by the Ukrainians previously. So anyway, we will just continue to monitor and see how this continue to develop. Then we go to the southern flank. At the southern flank of the Kursk front, or the Kursk front, the Russian forces are pushing Blakovo. Ukrainians are counter-attacking. The Russian Defense Ministry published quite a number of posts on their official Telegram channel, accusing Ukrainians of using some sort of chemical weapons, and one of them is used in Sudzha. So there is some kind of tear gas related stuff, but then they're also talking about like there's additional stuff being added, like chlorine, some metal chlorine kind of thing. I don't understand. I also don't really care, because the Russians can complain all they want. The international community generally will ignore it. That's just how it works, unfortunately. So, but the Russians have to cover their grounds, because if they don't cover their backside, what will happen is that the Ukrainians will then accuse the Russians of to be the one using it. So, yeah. Nobody knows what's the truth. No, it could be the Russians that use it first, and then they say that it's the Ukrainians. Who knows? So that's why it doesn't matter, because we will never know the truth. Moving into the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have the Russians continue to attack at Lipsy, Stadisia, as well as Voschansk. There is multiple geolocations around this area. At Novokazachok, a Lancet hit M777. At Lipsy, there's a Russian airstrike at Lipsy. FPV drone at Voschansk, as well as an airstrike, ODAP 1500 in Voschansk, basically again in the high-rise zone. So who in the right mind will keep deploying troops into the high-rise zone? They just targets, but yeah, that's war for you. That's why don't encourage war. War is stupid. No, you get a lot of people into doing a lot of stupid things to die. So we over at the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, the Russian forces are attacking at Petropavlivka, Sinkivka, Kucherivka, and shelling is reported at Kupiansk. And it's important that Kucherivka is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And the fact that there is reports of fighting at Kucherivka, as you can see, this is arguably, I would say maybe this is Kucherivka, okay, at the extent, the northernmost extent, because this other area is actually part of Petropavlivka, which is a massive octopus. So somehow the Russians are attacking Kucherivka. So I would assume that they may be looking at this extended area here as part of Kucherivka, maybe. This tentacle as part of Kucherivka, I'm not sure. They keep reporting that the Russians are attacking Kucherivka. So let's see how this develop. The Ukrainians are now talking about this, so this is definitely something, and we definitely do not have the frontline changes here to reflect what is the reality on the ground right now. So and for those that did not know, I also now is currently doing this trial on the DivGen's mapping. It's a pro-Russian mapping. They are very similar to Deep State, except that Deep State is working with the Ukrainian government. DivGen, I don't really think so. But so far so good. So far no invalidation of their mapping just yet. So no. If it's proved to be decent, then yeah, I can map a bit more from them. I don't dare to use everything because yeah, they do reflect mapping directly based on Russian Defense Ministry statement, which is not ideal, because we need more objective information. But let's see, because Ariba from time to time does do that a little bit as well. Over at the Pischane front, I just thought that no, a bunch of you guys may not understand what the hell I just said. And so it's too technical. So anyway, at the Pischane front, can I zoom in? No, better not. So the Russian forces are fighting geolocated. This is the latest geolocation, one of the latest one. The Russian forces have been geolocated in the north of Pischane, and this signals that the Russians have advanced in the north of Pischane towards the other Pischane. What do you mean? What do I mean by the other Pischane? So we have a Pischane here. This is Pischane, and then further up north there's a Pischane. So don't ask me why it's like that. This is the Ukrainian thing, you know, like you know, the distance between the two Pischane is ridiculous. We are talking about a distance like, you know, 9.7 kilometers, and then of course you go by the roads, you'll be much further, and then you tell the taxi driver, I'm going to Pischane, and then he bring you to the wrong one. Your taxi fare is going to be so expensive. So anyway, luckily nowadays we are all using Uber and Grabs and all this all this app, then you can just plot it on the map. But if you plot it on the wrong place, it's your fault. So anyway, the Russians are pushing towards the other Pischane right now, and we have geolocation. This is the latest geolocation, 7th of October. As you can see, this is the latest geolocation of this advance towards Pischane. Very interesting. And otherwise, if you zoom out a bit on the strategic level, you can see that the Russians are attacking Novo-Osinove, Kolesnikivka, Krylakivka, as well as Berestove. So the Russians, of course, we also can talk about the push towards the north Pischane as well. So currently the Russians are pushing, and I believe that they have entered Kolesnikivka as well as Krylakivka, given the fact that the distance between the front line and the settlement is really too close. So I believe that attack would mean that they have entered the settlements itself. So let's see, we're going to have more information as we go on in the next 12 hours, which we'll probably do the frontline changes report, in another 8 hours, I guess. So over in the Svetove front, at the Svetove front, we have fighting reported at Vishneve, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, fighting reported at Zyrolibivka and Krakivka. Svetove is over here. So we shall see how this goes. So far, there's nothing special per se. At least the Ukrainian Defense Ministry basically acknowledged that the fighting is basically past, and Andrievka has already arrived at Vishneve. So that's the only thing that we can really talk about. Over in the Kremina front, at the Kremina front, we have... So can I zoom in? Okay, the Kremina front. Okay, let's do this. Kremina. And the fighting is reported at Nevsky, Novosadove, Zarishny, Torske, as well as Dibrova. So geolocation of Russian forces in the north of Dibrova, not very important. There's also another geolocation. This geolocation is one of the latest as well. And this is south of Makievka, invalidating part of the Ukrainian claims. But definitely, does also shows that the Russian mapping is ridiculous because this part is like, it's a bit too bullish. Anyway, if I zoom out a bit, you can see the strategic situation a little bit better. We have the fighting at Krakivka, Zyrolibivka, Nevsky, and then they're pushing south of Makievka, Novosadove, Zarishny, Torske, Dibrova. So that's the current situation. You can see it's pretty much most of the front line. So anyway, we shall continue to monitor. Moving into the service front. Service front, far reported that Bilohorivka and Kharkiv, I'm not sure it's coming from north, coming from south, and there's fighting reported the service, and yeah, so that's about it. So we're not sure the Kharkiv situation is coming from the north or coming from the south, because if we are to believe that Verkhovno-Kayamsky is captured by the Russian forces, then we have reasons to believe that the Russian forces may have expanded their zone of control and allow them to attack Kharkiv. The Russians are now pushing Bilohorivka, and this could be a reaction to their capture of Verkhovno-Kayamsky, because this is becoming a salient. And why is this a salient like this? Because there is a river here. This is the Seversky Donetsk River. So basically this is a salient on its own. And so we shall see. We shall see, because there's still no evidence that the Russians have captured Verkhovno-Kayamsky. So we have to wait and see. The artillery is getting destroyed. The Ukrainian artillery west of Siversk got counter artillery. So it got destroyed. So unfortunately, when we go into the Bakhmut front and the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, the Russian forces have restarted their offensive along the highway. Fighting is reported at Zeleniansky and Minkivka. Fighting is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. So very interesting. Russian forces are also attacking Chasivya as well, and there is geolocation to reflect the frontline change in this area here. This is the latest as well. This is 7th of October. It just appeared over the past 12 hours, 10 hours. Russian forces geolocated within this micro district of Zotneve or Otybelsky. So Russian forces have expanded their zone of control within the village itself or the town itself. So continue to bewildered me. Somehow they are like penetrating through like little bit by little bit. No, very very kinky. So we shall see how these continue to develop. The weird stuff, like why Chasivya? But anyway, over in the southern flank, we only have fighting reported towards Tuposhki as well as towards Bilahora. So otherwise, there's nothing else to talk about. We move into the New York front. At the New York front, the fighting is particularly only in the Thorax region and the New York region. Nothing over in the south. So we zoom in a bit. So fighting is reported at Druzhba, Thorax, Skibinivka, as well as Nelipivka. So this is the current situation. There is no updates in terms of the front line. It continues to be very dirty around here. The front line looks really ridiculous. It don't make sense at all. So let's wait and see whether we can have some clarity. On the good note, on the positive note, the Stegosaurus remains to be alive. Is living very happy life right now. So this is at least the bright side. We still have the Stegosaurus with us. So anyway, I named the Stegosaurus Thorax. So anyway, shelling is reported at some of these rear positions. At Oleksandro Kalinove, Novo Olenivka, Novo Ekonomishne. But this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. I just plotted in just in case. Otherwise, there's fighting reported at Novotoretsky, which they call it Novotoretsky. But according to the Ukrainians don't talk about shelling in these reports. So these are all supposed to be front lines, but Novotoretsky don't exist. So I believe it's miswritten. It's actually Novotoretsky. So there's no Novotoretsky around here. So anyway, we move into the Novohorodivka sector of the Pokrov front. So this is Pokrov is here. This is Pokrov, and so the Russian forces are pushing in Promin, and they have started to attack towards Minograd. Fighting is reported at Mykolaievka, Kurutia, Lisivka, west of Novohorodivka. So this is the current situation over in the Novohorodivka sector. So the fact that this is the first time we have mention of Minograd. So the Russians are definitely pushing in this direction right now. So in the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report, they did mention Krutia as well. But they did not mention Mykolaievka. So according to this, we might be able to imagine that the Russian forces have already fully captured Mykolaievka. In the latest information, latest situation, and the Russians are now pushing for Minograd. Whereas the Ryba is still talking about the Mykolaievka. So there's a high chance that Mykolaievka has fallen, given the kind of reporting that the Ukrainians are doing. Promin is also mentioned by the Ukrainians. So definitely the Russians have already fully captured Mykolaievka. But however, we have fighting reported at Krutia, which means that there is a salient somehow in this area here that is now in danger of getting cut off. The Russians are attacking Krutia with Ukrainian forces still around this area here. So that is a possibility. So let's continue to monitor the situation around here. Over in the Selidove region, the Russian forces are attacking towards Petrivka. Also, as mentioned just now, is the west of Novohorodivka. Fighting is reported at Marinivka, moving towards Selidove, and also, of course, fighting reported at Selidove. So in multiple directions. So this second boss, this is not going to be mentioned much. So let's wait and see. Over in the Hernik region. At the Hernik region, Russian forces have great success in the multiple locations, with fighting reported at Sukirini, Novoselidivka, Izmailivka, Hernik, Zeleny Druhi, as well as in this Krasnohorivka region. So we go into details a little bit. Of course, there is also fighting reported in the south at I can't remember Kostre and Ostrivsky. So zoom in a bit. The Russians, this is based on the latest mapping from the Russian side. The Russian claims that most of Sukirini is now under Russian control. The Ukrainians have only acknowledged that the eastern half along the railway line is captured by the Russians, but most likely the Russian mapping is not wrong, given the tide of war, and the Russians are now pushing towards Izmailivka and Novoselidivka, and this is reported by the Ukrainians, so this is already corroborating the Russian mapping at this moment, because the Ukrainians are already mentioning Novoselidivka. The Russians are now on the verge of full capture of Sukirini. Over here, that is on the verge of full capture. The progress of the front line is moving pretty quickly. So let's see. And we move further south at the Hernik region. As you can see, the Russians are already pushing towards Novoselidivka and Izmailivka. And this would threaten, if these two falls, which is not a very big town, the Russians could continue to push south, cutting off retreat routes of Hernik. So this is a surprising to me, because I thought that the Russians would go for Hernik itself to cut off the Nevelsky salient. And the Russians do me one better. They're going to go all the way to the rear positions. So that also works. So that also works. So the Ukrainian situation is now getting really, really terrible. In the Hernik region, around Zeleny Druhi, the Russian mapping have drawn it in this way in reaction to the Russian Defense Ministry's exclamation that they have captured Zeleny Druhi. Ukrainian mapping still is pretty far away. They just acknowledge that the Russians have taken the hilly region in the northeast of Hernik. In the Krasnohorivka region, in this Krasnohorivka, in the Nevelsky salient. Nevelsky is very far away now. This Nevelsky. In the Nevelsky salient, so the Russian forces have expanded control in the northwest of Krasnohorivka, and of course expanding the control, capturing a lot of grounds, and this is now merely less than 4 kilometers from the main road, from the road here, just off Zoriani. So the Russians are really pushing really quickly right now. And so we move further south into the Kurakove sector. At the Kurakove sector, Russian forces are attacking at Ostrivsky, Maximelinivka, as well as Georgivka. So the Russian forces are still pushing all over the place. And the fighting here is particularly difficult, I think, because the Ukrainian HQ is so near. They could reinforce and send in forces to deal with the Russians very quickly. So let's see how these continue to progress. I just realized I forgot to read Pokrov as Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk. And we move into this Voleda. There's nothing happening at Voleda, so there's no updates around at Voleda. So over at the Vodiane Konstantinivka region, Russian forces have expanded control around Konstantinivka based on the latest geolocations, and our fighting is now reported towards Antonivka. The fighting is also moving towards Bohovyevlenka over here, and there's somehow no reports of fighting at Katerinivka. So there is someone putting on a comment saying that this is not supposed to be pronounced as Bohovyevlenka. So however, they say that this is actually pronounced as Bogayevlenka or Bogovyevlenka or something like this. So being the salty me, I just want to show you. English, Bohovyevlenka. Ukrainian, Bohovyevlenka. Again.
Bohoyevlenka.
Again.
Bohoyevlenka.
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 Happy? Yeah. So Bohovyevlenka, right? So anyway, that's it from Bohoyevlenka. Then we move into the Velika Novosilka sector. And this sector is getting a bit weird. So Russian forces have entered into Zolota Nyva. So I will zoom in a bit later, but the fighting is reported in this area, and the Russians are moving towards Velika Novosilka as well as Blahodatne. And there is also reports of Russian forces pushing in the direction of Yasna Polyana. So the Russians are making some push around here. So this is getting a little bit more serious because we have the frontline changes that we have been waiting for, and the Russian forces are objectively pushing because we have footages coming out of the Russians pushing Zolota Nyva. So Russian forces have been geolocated along the road as well as inside of Zolota Nyva. So based on the map, the information from Krimi Capris, they say that this is an attack by the Russian forces. Somehow, I didn't look at the footage though. Military summaries, geolocator wrote it as Russian raising the flag. So I'm not sure if they raised that flag or not. So I'm rushing to do this SITREP, so I haven't really watched. This is the latest information. This is the 7th of October. This is the latest information here. So the Russian forces have basically advanced into Zolota Nyva, invalidating a lot of these grounds south of it because can't possibly have Ukrainians there already. So the Russians are making all this push. So we shall continue to monitor the situation around here. This is looking very bad. I think Zolota Nyva will fall within the next 2 days. So Ukrainian forces are currently gathering in the northern part. So they are trying to defend as much as they can around here. So let's watch and wait and see how this goes. So otherwise, shelling is reported at Temerivka, not important, Russian Defense Ministry report. And we go into Zaporizhia front. And the Zaporizhia front at the Orikhiv as well as Kayamsky sector, there is fighting reported at Mala-Tomachka, Deribyanki. Shelling is reported at Novo Yakovlivka as well as Kayamsky. And the big news is, of course, the Kayamsky one, because the Russian forces weirdly is geolocated in the northern part of Kayamsky. This suggests that the Russians may have secretly pushed north of the causeway and taken positions in the north of Kayamsky. And I did mention in the frontline changes report that I cannot verify this information. I look at the footage, I can't really tell if the map, if the geolocation is actually correct. So I just going to assume that it's correct for now. So it's a bit sus, but no, I'm not sure. And I also saw military summaries in his latest Telegram posting also reflected this frontline change just as TPA has done. So yeah, so we are all going to die on this boat together if it's wrong. So let's see how this goes. And then we move into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, we have the return of the fighting in the direction of Pridniprovsky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They say that the Russians are pushing again. Otherwise, there is only shelling reported over at Lvove as well as Tokarivka. So this Tokarivka. So this reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. But anyway, that's about it. So this is the summary for the day of 956 for the 6th of October. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.